What's next doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by chance. What's next happens when experience meets expertise, when data meets dollars, and when steel meets earth. What's next happens when the promising work of Pioneer's state-of-the-art research centers meets the unsparing challenges of more than 17,000 on-farm trials. Our ultimate goal is to bring the next seed breakthrough to your fields, because Pioneer isn't just our name, it's our mission. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
This episode of the RealAg Radio podcast is brought to you by AIM EC Herbicide from FMC. AIM EC Herbicide powers up your spring burn-off with control of the tough weeds like kochia and cleavers. And because it's a Group 14 product, AIM EC Herbicide is the cornerstone of a solid resistance management program.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Thursday edition of the show. Hey, thanks so much, everybody, for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a big part of your workday. And, of course, also welcome to everybody listening out there on the RealAg Radio podcast. It's Thursday, which means it's the Farmer Rapid Fire, and it's brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. Now, listen, for more than 90 years, it's a long time, 90 years, Pioneer has developed and tested products to meet your local challenges, with new Optimum Glide canola, Enlist E3 soybeans, to performing corn products and industry-leading traits and technologies to maximize your yield potential. Pioneer's on-the-ground teams can help you get the right products for your fields. Visit pioneer.com/Canada to learn more. And the roster of farmers and ranchers today it's a good one. Some wily veterans, I should say, of the Farmer Rapid Fire. Be joined today by Ken Schaus. He is in Bruce County, Ontario. Be joined by Chris Moore, who's in Kinburn, Ontario. Kresten Jorgenson is in special areas in Alberta. Jeff Elder is in Wawanesa, Manitoba. And we'll also be joined by Mike Weir, who is a Pioneer agronomist in Manitoba. So great to have Mike back on the show as well. If you have any feedback on today's show, you can always send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also find us across all the different social media platforms. You're also more than welcome to call the RealAg feedback line. This is where you call, you leave me a voicemail, and you really tell me what you think. Good or bad, agree, disagree, I don't care. I just want to hear what you have to say. I want your perspective. You just dial 855-776-6147. Okay, let's take a break, and we'll get into it. We're starting out in Eastern Canada and working our way west. And we'll be back right after this.
It's time for today's Product Spotlight. Joining me now on the line is Barry Mann. He's with Genesis Fertilizers. So tell me, Barry, what is the Genesis Fertilizer Project?
It's a limited partnership with primarily farmer involvement, farmer ownership. And the project was formed to build out a Western Canadian fertilizer manufacturing and distribution system. So we're moving directly into the production of primarily urea, and then building out a system of distribution centers across Western Canada for the storage and blending. So farmers are taking a stake directly in the plant based on the amount of fertilizer they use on their farm. They're going to own the equity in the company that represents those tons that they're using. The ownership is going to be the farmers. Those profits, those margins, which are, like I said, are some of the greatest in the industry, they're going to stay on the farm.
For farmers who are interested, where could they go for more information?
GenesisFertilizers.com.
The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com is your one-stop shop for everything a canola grower needs. Check out our free video series on YouTube for all the latest in canola agronomy, research, marketing, and more. Don't have time to watch? Download the podcast version of the Canola School on RealAgriculture.com or anywhere you download your podcasts. Stay on top of all things canola with the Canola School on RealAgriculture.com, brought to you by BASF and Invigor Hybrid Canola.
And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, to Kinburn, Ontario, and we're talking to Chris Moore. Hey, Chris, how are you doing?
G'day, Mr. Haney. Happy New Year's to you.
You're still saying Happy New Year. I have we not passed that?
Well, I haven't talked to you.
Oh, okay, that's fair. So what if we hadn't? What if it was May and we hadn't talked? Are you still saying Happy New Year?
I'm disappointed in you.
That I've called you
That
out.
is.
Okay, so hey, what's going on the farm this week?
Trying to get as much done when the weather's nice as we can. It's pretty mild today, about 6 degrees outside. I had a big blizzard come through yesterday afternoon, last night. The wind was worse than the snow, and the snow's just about. That's weird. There's some big drifts, but through the yards, but there's bare spots too.
It kind of has been a bit of a strange winter, hasn't it?
It's been mild, so trying to make the most of it. We had a lot of east winds, which are kind of lazy winds. They'd rather blow through you, but that makes working outside a little tougher than I like. But it has been pretty decent for getting stuff done.
Of course, you're in the sheep industry, so from what are you doing right now? Do you have them? Are you winter grazing? Are you feeding them? Like what? Give us some insight here.
We have everything home, or at least to a wintering yard. So we're done grazing for the season. We could probably still be out grazing, but we're short of labor, and like round bales are just too cheap this year to be slugging fences through snow in the dark and in the cold.
Yeah. Why are round bales so cheap?
Kind of a glut of hay this year, I guess. There's a lot of poor quality hay, so makes it a little cheaper. So the availability's up.
We've been hearing lots about cattle producers and some of their concerns about this year, or issues they're dealing with. We definitely know some of the struggles of the pork industry. That's very well documented. How are things right now for people that are producing sheep and lamb?
It's the demand's there. Our costs are up like everybody else, so work harder for the same amount kind of deal. But the processors are still looking for it. We're going through the midwinter rally in prices where there's a bit of a shorter supply of lambs, and the demand's still strong, even though Christmas just passed. That's kind of how I see it, anyways.
Yeah. When is the highest demand time for lamb?
I'm going to say around Ramadan or Kabani.
Okay.
Kabani seems to be a good one too. I know a lot of people focus on the Eastern market, and good for them.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So what else are you got all your plans ready for spring already, or is it just you're just trying to keep those thoughts out of your head and not worry about that yet?
We're trying to get through winter first and see where that goes. I think we have some plans. We got rams out, so we know we're going to have lambs. We're still going to be grazing solar sites. Those contracts are all in check. Maybe add a few more contracts with, owner-operator grazers to look after sites near their own farms.
There's a real sort of, I'll say network, but there's a real amount of information sharing and a collaborative effort amongst a lot of people that are doing solar grazing. That's kind of my perception. Is that what you found?
We work a lot with the American Solar Grazing Association, and it's really awesome, like monthly meetings, awesome topics, incredible speakers. And then there's a lot of us, like maybe here in Ontario, I can think of like maybe 5 or 6 people, and we're grazing 5,000 or 6,000 acres maybe total. And we do keep in touch, I think, pretty good, or somewhat respectively.
It's a real expanding acreage?
There's more solar sites that are seeing the value in having sheep come do the mowing. I'd say one of the big struggles, and like listening to Monday's show with Pete, in your rant about what's sustainability and what's regenerative. The solar companies are listening to the criticisms of people and taking that social licensing and trying to own it as best they can. So when people say, well, we're losing farmland to solar plants, they're keen to say, okay, well, let's get farming going on under the panels again.
Right.
So it's not a loss of farmland. It's just changed how we farm. And then we're producing food for local food systems, probably more so than if we're growing a commodity type like soybeans or corn, which get exported.
Why did they move away from having livestock under the panels? Like how did that even happen in the first place?
I guess it was just, we mow ditches with tractors and mowers. We cut sports fields, and everything gets done with tractors and mowers. And it would just probably what they came up with is we're going to cut the grass under the solar panels using tractors and mowers because that's kind of what we're used to here. And, when we saw what friends of ours were doing, we thought we can do that too. And we just did the pilot project, and it's taken off pretty good, I think. It's been a big opportunity for the sheep industry. I think there's a lot more opportunities too, looking at gas line pipelines where you don't want big trees growing and there's grass growing there. So that's another spot that could be going on.
Saves on the labor having to send somebody out with a mower. Plus,
I thought that too.
Okay.
So, I will caution you, there is no such thing as free feed. There is always consequences, whether it's labor or community. Like if my sheep go to the neighbors and start grazing their corn, that wasn't free feed.
Yeah.
And, if we're going to do the good job grazing these solar sites, then that's boots on the ground and it's work.
Yeah.
It is work.
Whoa. Yeah, I do not miss that point. It is definitely work. You just don't put them out there and collect them 3 months later and be like, oh, that was fun. Like there's a work component to this.
There have been situations of some people trying to do it that way. But we've dealt with it this year ourselves, and predators are a huge, huge, huge issue. And solar technicians are not necessarily used to that sort of thing and don't probably enjoy seeing it. So it's a big, big, big problem.
Yeah. What's the main predator that you're concerned about?
Right now it's coyotes and ravens.
Ravens even?
Yeah, ravens take a lot of lambs on us.
Really?
Yeah, we got a couple neurotic dogs that hate birds, and it drives me nuts some days that they will take off and just chase a bird. But when it's lambing time and they're keeping the crows and ravens back from the sheep, it's worth its weight in gold.
Interesting. I would have definitely thought of coyotes. In some parts it's probably cougars. But I didn't think of ravens.
I don't know the exact data right offhand, Shaun, but they've definitely, if they're not number one, they're a strong number two in the last couple of years here in Ontario.
Yeah.
They've figured out that eyes and navels are a real easy thing. We've even had cast ewes have their eyes plucked out.
That's a terrible experience.
Yeah, it's not fun to find, and I couldn't imagine what they go through. Ravens are, and that's not a fun thing to, like, I don't know, like predation is an awful thing to deal with because it's just it is so traumatic the way that wildlife kills, right? It's not a captive bolt or something that's quick and instant. Like they rip it apart, and it's very traumatic.
Yeah, nature.
And chances are they're coming back tomorrow.
Yeah, nature is not kind to each
No.
right? So, hey, Chris, really appreciate it. All the best to you, and I guess Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's to you, Mr. Haney.
We'll be right back on RealAg Radio here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, right after this.
I'm Lindsay Smith from RealAgriculture.com. Join me Monday nights for The Agronomist, a 1-hour live and interactive show broadcast across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I host expert agronomists from all over the country to give you answers to some of the toughest agronomic questions. Join us live or catch the replay Tuesday morning. That's The Agronomist with me, Lindsay Smith, Monday nights live at 8 p.m. Eastern.
As you look ahead to the next growing season, there's a lot to consider when it comes to your crop. You need every possible advantage available to you. The Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com has everything you need to make the best choice for you and your farm. On-demand videos with leading industry experts available anywhere, anytime. Go into the season confident and ready with the Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com.
FP Genetics relentlessly brings innovative new seed genetics to Canadian farms, ensuring growers, breeders, and farmers are supported and viable. Being a valued partner on your farm for decades, you can expect the continuous pursuit of the best genetics. Visit fpgenetics.ca to discover FP's strong portfolio of wheat, durum, barley, oats, peas, and rye, or contact your local FP seed dealer or territory manager to discuss your certified seed strategy specific to your region.
And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, to Bruce County, Ontario. We're talking to Ken Schaus. Hey, Ken, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Shaun?
Well, hey, it's great to chat with you. This is 2 weeks in a row because last week I was able to have a beer with you at the Southwest Ag Conference in Ridgetown the night before. We were both at the speaker event, and I had a pint of Guinness, and we had a good chat.
It was a good chat. I had a glass of water. I haven't had a drink in almost 4 years, so.
Well,
okay.
I swallowed mine very quickly for the both of us. Okay, let's dig it. Well, let's start on the Ridgetown conference there. How did your talk go?
Talk went well. We spoke on cover crops. I was on a panel with two other producers from Ontario here, and there was 2 sessions. Both were well attended. Lots of questions, and that was my first attendee as an attendee, and then as a speaker at the Ridgetown Southwest Ag Conference, and it was very well attended.
Yeah. Did you attend a bunch of sessions as well?
Yeah, I kept going from one to another. There's about 5 minutes in between, so you kind of find yourself running from one session to the other. But the content there is excellent. And if a producer hasn't been there, or some of your top people haven't been there, I would highly recommend sending them on a go forward.
Yeah, and the nice thing is I didn't hear you booing when I was giving my talk, so that's nice of you.
No, I was at the back there. You wouldn't have heard me.
Okay, so you were booing. Okay.
Yep.
Talk about the cattle business in Ontario. I know you are always busy. You got a lot going on there. What's happened on the farm this week?
Yep. Around here, we're getting winter for the first real blast of winter here in Bruce County, and which is kind of late arriving this year. The calf run this fall was our numbers were up out of the west this fall. Quality is excellent. Seeing some variability in some vaccine programs, some really good programs and some not so good ones, which can cause some grief on the health side of it. For the most part, you bring these West calves in and they hit the ground and running and feeding well. We have an abundance of feed here in Ontario. Our particular area had good rainfalls this whole past year, and grazing conditions were good, and good weights on the yearlings coming off too.
Do you see some drought effects on some of the calves?
Oh, the southern Saskatchewan, southern Alberta calves, there has been some, and it's leading to a few problems that we don't normally don't expect, and so we've been prepared prepared after we saw the first couple, and we've had some thiamine deficiencies, and I think that's just because of the amount of, talking with the ranchers out west, they're purchasing lots of feed. Nothing is better than homegrown ranch feed, grass, supplemental feed that comes right off the ranch to prepare these calves for the next stage. So we have seen some thiamine deficiencies, and we've made adjustments in the mineral programs here too.
Now you mentioned some of the winter impact. Winters come in this week for sure. Yep. Now your feeding program, different than maybe a Western Canadian feed yard that I grew up on. You're in sheds, correct?
Yep. So they're all. They're all, if you go to my Twitter site, you can see some of these new barns that we're building. I've got slotted floor barns, Shaun, and I've got some new structures that have been under construction here as well. We're shutting down some of the slotted floor barns. They've hit an age where they're wore out, and we're putting some new weed cover buildings to put a plug in for them. The facilities are excellent. Typical barn is 140 by 400 and holds 11 or 1,200 cattle. They're well bedded. They're climate controlled with curtains, and the conditions are phenomenal in them. They don't have the elements. We can protect these cattle and the value of them, and the performance that's coming out of these barns. I probably should have started building them a few years ago.
Okay, when did you start?
We're putting our second one up here now. And I've got some customers that have been building them, over the last 10 years. I've seen quite a few of them go up, and no one has any regrets of building them. They're well lit inside. Again, the curtains on the sides all the way around that control the climate. In the summertime, it'll be 5 degrees cooler, and in the wintertime, you can have the worst blizzard on in Bruce County, and there's no signs of any problems on. So.
Do you see a performance difference undercover than you think you would in a more traditional open feed yard environment?
Yep. So we have to have some shelter here with the amount of moisture we get, and the elements would just be too much. So everything has to have some type of shelter. And with the amount of rainfall and snow melt that we have, if you didn't have them, under a roof, they just wouldn't perform at all. Now, the slotted floor barns compared to these new weed cover barns, and there's other manufacturers as well, but we've split some groups here very evenly, and it's a half a pound a day more in conversions than compared to slotted floor barns.
Yeah, in an open environment, you think about it with all the moisture you get, whether that's rain or snow and then melt. Boy, you'd be fighting foot rot probably like crazy.
Yeah, it's again, we've never really gone there, and you also have we take all our deep bedding pack manure and we're composting it and taking it out to the farms, and that's there's a definite benefit doing that versus the liquid manure.
Yeah. How's
much easier to handle.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How's the planning coming for the 24 crop?
We've got everything for the winter cereals. They're all in the ground.
Yep.
We grow winter rye, winter barley, and winter wheat. The fertility plan's pretty much laid out. The seeds are everything's for the corn and soybeans is all ordered, and most of it's paid for. So I think we're ready to go. The guys are bringing some equipment into the shop just to, do a little bit of work on the planter here, but for the most part, I think everything's pretty much planned out.
Yeah, it's going to be, planting time will be here before you know it, Ken. Right?
Yep.
This time of year flies.
And that's good because winters. I don't mind winter, but come the end of March, you're ready to see it disappear.
You get tired of being an office jockey?
Between office and out back here, we get a foot of snow, and we can easily handle it. But if you get 3 or 4 days of winter, it's not long before you're pushing a lot of snow, and it costs money. And I don't know how you recoup your costs from that. You don't, so it just makes for lots of extra work, and when you have lots of work.
Yeah. Well, overall, you're pretty optimistic about what's in front of you in terms of the cattle business here in 24?
Yep, we've got, the yearlings last fall, Sean, were at record highs, but so is the forward pricing, and we've got a good percentage of our cattle pre-booked here. So, and, our first loads are starting to roll out of the west coming this way. And so there's decent spreads there. There's some high break-evens out there on the unhedged cattle and the unbooked cattle, but, it's not a big percentage of what we've got.
Great stuff.
Grass cattle are all pretty much placed as well.
Oh, nice.
And so we like having those cattle, but in the heart of the runs on and the calf run out of the west, you can place those cattle and have them pre-programmed for grass. I don't like buying cattle right at grass time. It seems to be too competitive, and again, we like to have them in place in the fall.
Makes sense. Hey, Ken, thanks so much for joining us here this week on the Farmer Rapid Fire. Very much appreciate it. It was great to see you last week in person and have a chat, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Nope, sounds good. Thanks, Sean.
Of course, we've got more of the Farmer Rapid Fire coming up. You're listening to RealAg Radio, brought to you today by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
Through a growing storm of kochia, cleavers, chickweed, and more, there's a clear path. Introducing Oxbow, a versatile cereal broadleaf herbicide that gets the job done. Powered by Duplisan technology, Oxbow is your workhorse on resistant kochia and other tough weeds. With flexibility in timing, rates, and recropping options, your path is clear. Find your way on the path of least resistance at newfarm.ca/Oxbow.
There's a reason we call it the Corn School. Videos on everything from planter setup to weed control, field trial results, and the latest yield strategies. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com has the information and advice you need to help you succeed. Brought to you by Pride Seeds and BASF. Corn School episodes are available at cornschool.com, from RealAgriculture.com, or as a podcast in your favorite podcast app. Check out the latest Corn School episode today.
We take the Farmer Rapid Fire to Wawanesa, Manitoba, and we're talking to Jeff Eldridge. Hey, Jeff, how are things going?
Going good here, Sean. How are things there?
Pretty good. Yeah, winter's here.
Yeah, it is here now too. We've had a pretty easy winter on average up until the last few days, and yesterday morning it was minus 30, and we're definitely not used to that.
No, it's been rather abrupt. It's been rather abrupt. It wasn't a slow process to get to those temperatures. And when we get to the point where Fahrenheit and Celsius connect, all we can say is that's cold.
Yeah.
Now, are you getting some snow with all this?
Yeah, we are today. Big, fat, fluffy flakes coming down here in Brandon right now. And it's been white for a while. We had a white Christmas, but not a lot of snow. Just enough to keep it white.
Yeah. How are the moisture conditions?
Dry.
Yeah. That seems to be, that's what everybody's telling me. There's probably some pockets that are like, we're good. But boy, it seems like everybody I talk to on the prairies, everyone's got a bit of a dry concern. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I think we used our subsoil moisture growing this last year's crop, and it was a pretty dry fall and very little snow so far. I kind of think if it had froze up, some of this snow when it melted would have soaked in, but I think we had enough moisture before the ground froze that it's probably sealed off now, and it's going to stay dry till we get some rains in the spring.
For the winter months, are you a shop guy? Do you like to work on equipment? Do you have a shop to do that, or do you just take it to the dealer?
Big stuff I'll take to the dealer, but I do have a shop. I do like to work on stuff in there. Got a few projects in there, but to be honest, I've hardly been in there this year because it's been so nice out. I've been picking away at outside jobs, getting grain shipped, working on, a couple of building repairs. and I usually put off the shop stuff until it gets cold, and it just hasn't until now.
What's kind of your favorite thing to do in the shop? Like, what is there certain things you like to do?
I like tinkering away on little projects, making things. I do enjoy going through, like, I'll put the combine in and I'll go through all the simple stuff myself and just check off the simple stuff and that kind of thing. And got a couple of old vehicles I'm fixing up. They seem to take a crazy amount of time, because if you fix one thing, then you find two more things that need fixing and that sort of thing. So it's kind of never ending in the shop. Yeah.
It's getting kind of more difficult at times. Like some of there's a lot more more complexity. I'm not a mechanically inclined person, but I just, from talking to growers, they're just things that got with all the electronical components becoming a little bit harder to work on, do some of those projects they used to do.
On certain pieces of equipment, that's for sure. In that respect, perhaps I'm fortunate in that I run a lot of older stuff.
Yeah.
But there's definitely things that are, if something's going on with a modern piece of equipment, a lot of time your only choice is to call the dealer and have the tech come out with a laptop and reflash the software, or whatever magical things they do with their equipment and training. But I do enjoy the older equipment because it's so simple and you can often fix it with stuff you have around the farm.
Yeah. When you say older, what do you mean? Like, give us a context. What vintage?
My front wheel assist tractor's Magnum from the 90s.
Yeah.
So there's no laptop port on that thing. My 4-wheel drive's from 2009. So it's, it definitely has some things that it needs a professional on.
Yeah.
But
cool.
Yeah, older, simpler stuff.
Yeah.
I do enjoy. I have electrical background, so I can figure out, old school electrical stuff and electronics and that sort of thing, multiplex sensors. But yeah, as soon as you need a computer and factory software, it's, that's when you got to call the pros. You really don't have a choice.
Curious, is it still? Is it? I still think is those years you listed as being relatively, you kind of get stuck in time. It's not that old. But is it hard to get parts at all? Like, have you hit that issue at all, or is it still, are parts still pretty relatively available for those years of models?
So far, so good.
Good. Okay, good.
There was a period of time during the pandemic when it was very hit and miss what might or might not be available, but I haven't had any issues in the last couple of years. That said, some of it's a little bit older, but it's also, kind of mainstream, common models of equipment. So, there's a lot of them out there, so they seem to be able to keep parts flowing for them.
Are you all ready for 2024 growing season from a planning perspective?
Oh yeah. I'm pretty much ready for 25 and 26 as well. I have a rotation that I planned out and I stick with it, and it makes my planning life so easy. I can look at whatever year in the future and know what crops I'm growing on what fields, and yeah, it's just super easy.
Does that kind of save you from a whole bunch of stress of flipping in and out of stuff and making the wrong decision?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I picked 4 crops I know I can grow well. We've got experience growing these particular crops, and I mean, I'm not afraid to try something new if it looks promising. But I'm not going to drop it in for 25% of my rotation or anything. I'll try 80 acres or something, but for the most part, I just stick with the rotation. There's so many different benefits, from stress reduction to, many different agronomic benefits. Even the marketing, so many times, and I've done it too. You kind of chase last year's golden crop.
Yeah.
And so does everybody else. And then it often doesn't turn out so well by the time that crop is harvested and in the bin. So, you can kind of even that out on the markets too.
It's a we've been talking about goal setting recently on the show, and one of the points I make is don't get trapped into recency bias. And I think when it comes to decision making on this, we can do this, right? Where, oh man, Durham was good last year, or soybeans were good last year, and oats. We do this in oats, right? We're in, we're out, we're in, we're out.
Yeah. That's very true. Yeah. And like part of the ease of sticking with the rotation and this same crops is that you get good at marketing those crops instead of jumping in, jumping out, and maybe you haven't grown something for 2 or 3 years and then you jump back in and find out that the way you need to market it has changed and stuff like that.
Oh, good point. That's a really good point that probably isn't mentioned enough when it comes to this whole discussion. Hey, Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. All the best to you. We'll chat with you a little bit later on here in 24, okay?
Sounds great, Shaun. Thanks.
We are headed to Alberta next here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
What's next for your fields? At Pioneer, delivering industry-leading genetics drives everything we do. From the scientists in the lab to our local teams with boots on the ground, we are determined to get there first. Developing top-performing products, proven in more growing conditions than ever before. Pioneer. What's next happens here. Visit pioneer.com/Canada to learn more.
Whether you're a rookie soybean grower or a seasoned vet, the Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com has exactly what you need to stay in the game. The latest research and the best agronomic advice from industry experts, along with local and global market coverage on demand, anywhere, anytime. Make this growing season your best growing season with the Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com.
Next, we take the Farmer Rapid Fire into special areas in Alberta. We're talking to Kresten Jorgenson. Hey, Kresten, how's it going?
Hi, good, thanks. How about you?
Hey, pretty good. How are things? How are you making out on the farm this week?
Good. It's cold, and we're just starting to calve. We've had 5 calves, but yeah, things are going good so far.
It's sort of like wash your vehicle to make it rain. It's sort of like say you got a calve, the weather gets cold.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a nice winter up until 3 days ago.
Yeah, and are you getting any snow with any of this colder weather?
Yesterday we got a decent amount. I don't know, a few inches anyway. And now the wind's howling and blowing the snow into drifts and stuff. But yeah, finally got some.
But the fact that you're calving in January, you're set up to calve in January.
Yeah, we don't have anywhere warm for them until they start calving. But once they start calving, then we've got a barn set up and keep it above freezing with pens and lots of straw on. So yeah, they're comfy anyway.
How long will calving season go for you?
Till May, because we calve these ones, and then there's a little bit of a break usually in March, and then come April we've got some that go to community pasture, and they calve in April and May.
Do you whenever we're talking to people about the growing season, I sometimes ask them, do you enjoy planting? Do you enjoy spraying? Do you enjoy harvest? For you, being you've got pears, what's your favorite part of the cycle?
I like calving the best. Even when, it's minus 35 right now with the wind chill, but it's still a pretty fun time.
Why do you enjoy it so much?
Don't even know. I guess it's just kind of, you see all the work that you've been putting in, like, because all these ones right now we AI'd last spring. So you see basically what you made, like the cross, see if it was a good choice with the bull that you picked and stuff. And just always seeing new life, I guess, is exciting. And same with heifers, seeing them for the first time and being a good mom and stuff. And it's just, I don't know, something I enjoy.
Yeah. It kind of takes you back to the basics and also kind of reminds you, I'm sure, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it kind of reminds you why you enjoyed getting into the cow business in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. How are the moisture conditions in your area?
Bad. Up until yesterday, it was actually still dusty. Anywhere, all the top, really, the top few inches hadn't froze because it's just powder. So the snow's actually decent, I guess, as far as that goes. But we're really hoping for some spring moisture, some rains and stuff in April and May.
Think we're going to get it?
I don't know. Hoping so. I've heard some people comparing right now to 2015-16, like some meteorologists. So yeah. I hope they're right, because 2016 was actually a really good year for us. Harvest sucked, but just like everywhere. But we had good crops and the grass and hay grew. So, and big thing with our pastures right now is the grasshoppers ate a lot of them down, like pretty bare. So there's not much carryover. Normally we like having carryover so we can kick them out in April, but I don't think we're going to have much to put them out on.
Yeah, grasshoppers were a real issue last year. Hopefully that's less of a problem this year, but I don't know. It's definitely impacted a lot of, like you said, pasture ground and cropping land. Do you have a crop plan in place for 24 kind of solidified yet?
No. We're just talking. We got to get one. Like, the person we buy seed from was asking what seed we want, and then UFA, where we get our chemical, and Pete, he was asking, like, how much peat do you need next year? And because he wants to know, because apparently there's going to be an inoculant shortage, or could be, so he wants to find out our plan. So we've got to make one soon, I guess. Thinking it will be a lot of cereal crops, though. Just trying to get some feed, because we haven't made enough feed here since 2020 for ourselves. So it's been quite a few years of buying.
So that kind of takes pulses and canola out of you're going to potentially focus on more barley then. Yeah,
we normally don't grow canola anyway, so
yeah.
But yeah, a lot less peas is what we're thinking.
And for some of the people that are listening to this outside of what we deem to be special areas, the reason why there's no canola is because you're in a typically an area that tends to be more in the drought bias. Is that how would you put it?
Yeah, we're very dry here. There are a lot of grain farmers that do grow canola, and when it rains, they do get a good crop. But yeah, we're in a very dry area. Like the past few years, I don't know if we've got 3 or 4 inches all year, which is abnormal. Normally we get more than that, but it does happen. Like early 2000s were just like this. So that's basically why we are the special areas, is because we're dry occasionally.
Occasionally.
Yeah, I was just going to say, actually, our wet is probably like most people's normal. So,
yeah, but you farm for it, right? Like you know what your constraint is, and it doesn't mean you can't. Like, and of course, you and many others are proving you can. It's just you firmly understand the constraint that you were typically working under.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're not planning for 60 bushel wheat or barley. We can get it if it rains, but you don't make a crop plan for it.
Yeah.
You kind of make a plan for, what if it doesn't rain kind of thing.
And your stocking density on the cows is different too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I know some areas, they don't like having much grass carryover because they think it's waste, whereas here, it's almost essential to have grass carryover. Just then you have something for next year if it doesn't rain. So you stock less on purpose for that reason too.
Yeah. How are you feeling about the year ahead? Are you feeling optimistic or sort of not sure yet? How are you feeling about the year ahead?
Not overly optimistic for the growing season, but calf prices have stayed really good. So pretty optimistic for the cattle industry too. I think we're entering some pretty good times here. So hopefully it stays for a few years this time. And I do think it will. So it looks good that way.
Yeah, the cow-calf sector deserves some good times. It's and over a longer period of time than just one time around the horn.
Yeah, yeah, and it's looking like it will be. So hope so.
Good stuff. Well, hey, Kresten, thanks for joining us this week on the Farm Rapid Fire. All the best to you. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. You too.
And we finish up this week's Farmer Rapid Fire brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada by talking to Pioneer Seeds area agronomist for Southern Manitoba. It is Mike Weir. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. And Burr.
Yeah, you can say that again. We've been spoiled to this point, but yeah, winter has arrived. I'm looking out the window here now, and a lot of talks of an Alberta clipper hitting this way. So, yeah, winter's arrived, and just in time for egg days when we usually get into that deep freeze.
Oh, the joys of trying to find a parking spot at egg days and then trying to figure out how far you have to walk in the bitter tundra cold of the parking lot to get inside the building.
Absolutely, yep.
The best part, though, is all the building, like the whole thing connects. Like, it's not like you have to go building to building to building and go outside all the time. You can be there all day.
Absolutely. No, once you've parked and made that trek and you get inside, it's plenty warm and it's always a good time to catch up with a lot of people you haven't seen since the previous year. So looking forward to that myself next week to get up there.
Yeah, there's I've stayed at the Canad Inn, not during Ag Days, but I've stayed at the Canad Inn a few times, and they've got that pub that's right there. I can't remember what the heck it's called, but that's a good place to get a pint and a bit of a snack and some lunch too during Ag Days. Okay, yeah. Are you looking? Do you look forward to like trade show time, Ag Days next week?
I do. Like I said, there's a lot of people that you catch up with when you go to an event like that, and a lot of them you haven't seen since the previous year. So it's always enjoyable for someone like myself, where I spend a lot of time, working with our sales reps and the growers that they work with on, helping them make decisions for the cropping season. And with a lot of those decisions that have been made for 2020. There's still some acres up in the air, and so it's always nice to go to an event like Ag Days and talk to growers one-on-one on what would best fit their farm from a cropping perspective, and then within those crops which varieties or hybrids would best fit what they're trying to accomplish.
Well, make sure you pack some good shoes.
Yeah, no, it's there's a lot of walking involved too, and a lot of standing for sure. But no, it's always a good time. Everyone usually has a booth set up, and it's a pretty intimate setup too, where you can have some good discussion with growers.
I'm sure you don't have this trouble at Pioneer Seeds. but I have done the show from the odd company's booth at a trade show where the people work on the booth, complaining that the company cheaped out on the underlay that's under the carpet because their backs it's trade the trade show season, because you're in Manitoba, so you got to worry about ag news, but there's people that work for other companies where you're kind of doing, like, you're going from crop production show to ag days to somewhere else. Like, it's a traveling road show, same booth, same people, and just a different city. We have a very confined, because of the growing season, right? We got these winter months, and that's when all the conferences and trade show are. It's a busy time when it comes to these kinds of activities. So now, what are you hearing from growers right now? Everyone's back from holidays, and the reality is that the countdown's on for the 2024 growing season, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people in the last week or so are, like you mentioned, getting back from some time off at holidays. There's obviously some that are still taking some time to escape this cold snap and heading on some much needed time away with family. But like you mentioned, a lot that are coming back and gearing up for these trade shows with questions to kind of finalize those plans for 2024. So a lot of those decisions have been made as far as booking seed in kind of the tail end of 2023 for the 2024 crop. But it seemed there was a bit of a trend in the fall where there's a few more open acres than we generally do see in other years. So there's a lot of questions on, just which crop they're going to finalize their cropping plan with. So, lots of questions on that going on right now.
You think there's a little bit more flex acre this year?
I think at this point there generally was towards the end of the 2023 season, and in Manitoba, anyways, that might be different in some of the other prairie provinces, but a lot of people are looking at the commodity prices right now and new crop prices, where there's some pretty attractive new crop prices and some that maybe have tailed off a bit. So with that, there usually comes some open acres or some flex acres.
Now, I know you were in some internal meetings last week, and it's interesting about the timelines everyone's working on, because we were just talking about growers planning for 2024, and you were mentioning to me during the commercial break that planning's underway at your company for 2025.
Yeah, so it's not only exciting for working with growers to prepare for 2024, but from a seed company perspective, it's exciting to really look at 2025. We advanced new products in the fall of 2023, and you have to start to anticipate or try to take a shot at which products you're going to carry for volume in 2025 for sale. And with that, you need to start planning out producing those acres or producing that seed in 2024, so then you can commercially make it available to farmers for the 2025 season. So yeah, the last couple of days we have really good discussion on some pretty exciting products that we've advanced in our canola, soybean, and corn lineup, and towards the end of January those numbers roll up, and then we can start coming up with a production plan for those products for 2025 sales.
Yeah, it's hard to believe we got numbers like 2025 out in the. Yeah. Just time flies. Absolutely. So, are you looking forward to the growing season?
Absolutely, I always do. It's there's different challenges every year, and that's what makes this line of work interesting and fun, and I think there's a lot of optimism on from a grower perspective too on the 2024 season. So no, I always look forward to the spring.
Great stuff. Well, hey, really appreciate you joining us here today, Mike. And, of course, always appreciate and want to say thanks to Pioneer Seeds Canada for being the sponsor of the Farmer Rapid Fire. All the best to you. Hey, good luck at Ag Days next week, okay?
Hey, thanks. Thank you. Take care.
If you have any feedback on today's show, of course, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com, or call that RealAg feedback line. The number is 855-776-6147. Big thanks to Pioneer Seeds Canada for being the sponsor of the Farmer Rapid Fire. Thank you so much, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Radio, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you for downloading this episode of the RealAg Radio podcast, brought to you by AIM EC Herbicide from FMC. Whether applied with glyphosate or another labeled tank mix partner, fast-acting AIM EC Herbicide is the go-to tank mix product for the hottest burn-off of the toughest weeds. Start out clean this spring with AIM EC Herbicide.